Hello everybody, this is Courtney with Fiber Fox Studios, and today I'm going to do my best to talk to you guys about how I select my colors and kind of give you guys an idea of ways that you can put some colors together to do a mosaic project or any project that you might like to do. So we're going to get started by taking a little peek at the blanket that had everybody talking and asking for me to do mosaics. So I'm going to grab that and bring that into view for you guys. And here we have the blanket that started it all. So here's my first tip. This blanket in any project that I do is always inspired by one yarn that really catches my eye. So the very first thing I'm going to bring into view for you guys is the yarn that inspired this entire blanket. I know that's hard to believe that this little poofy thing is what did the inspiration, but this was a Bernat cake. So this was one of the Bernat pops, and it had these really pretty pinks in it. It faded to kind of an orangey pink, and then it faded on to an actual orange. This cake also had a color in it that I didn't like. It had this in here. Kind of ended with this really odd, I don't know what to really call it, almost like a burgundy or something. It's an odd burgundy color. Really didn't like it with these colors together. But I just pulled that part out of the cake. I just didn't use that part. So the entire blanket was built around this one cake. So what I did is I started grabbing in other yarns that were similar tones. So what you are going to want to do when you're starting any type of project, especially a mosaic, and you're thinking, I want to do something that's kind of gradient, I want to see some color changes, I want to have some difference from one end to another, is you're going to grab that yarn that really just catches your eye at that moment. Or if you're doing something that's specific to your bedroom decor or living room, you know, grab the yarn that's going to complement what you've already got going on the most. Now, these colors that I have lined up back here, I'm going to kind of turn these into view real quick. The yarn that made me go, oh, this is the yarn I want to use, was this one right here. This really pretty color. Hopefully that's going to show on camera. It has got the prettiest almost glow to it. So I really hope that comes through for you guys. So when I saw this color, I was like, I love this color. This is what I'm going to build my project around. So if I was doing a mosaic blanket, this is the color that grabbed my eye at that moment. And I decided I wanted to do kind of a gradient. So I started grabbing other colors that were complementing, but you know, I wanted the change. So the next closest color that I found was this one right here. So I began to build out from the color that just caught my eye and said, you know, made me say, oh my goodness, I love this. I start building out from that. So that's where this next color came in. And then I grabbed this color over here. And then an easy one was grabbing this little very soft pale lavender. And I was like, I love these colors right here. Love them together. But then I like to add in some kind of a little bit different colors to have a more strong contrast. So that's where these two came in down here. So I grabbed up, this one is, the color is called Lobelia, I believe is how you say that. It's a bluish purple. It's more blue to me than it is purple, but when I put it with these others, it looks more purple to me. And this is a really bold, this is like a royal type purple. They call it just purple, but I mean, it's bright. Red Heart Super Saver has a color, the same exact shade. So, I mean, this is, you don't have to use these types of yarns. Any yarn will do. You just want to grab for that one that really catches your eye. And you want to grab some other ones that are going to provide a kind of transition for you. So now let's talk about how I would do this. This would be, just as an instance, this would be my color A. So what contrasting color am I going to be using as the color B to kind of pop out my shapes? That's where you can get really creative. So if you're not wanting anything too crazy, you can go with just a simple tan. It's a neutral. It'll look really good with these. I mean, no one would look at this and go, oh, that's terrible. So this is any neutral will work. You can do neutral. This is a tan. My main preference is grays. So the way that I would do these grays right here, let me kind of move that. We're about to have a yarn avalanche too on top of it all, because I've got a lot of yarn pulled out to talk about. so I love gray as my secondary color, so my color B in this case, in this example. And the way that I like to do gray is I often don't have enough of the same exact color to do an entire blanket. So I will grab several colors that are similar. So I've got a darker gray, I've got a lighter gray. The way that I would position this is my darker gray, I don't want it down here with the other darks. Hopefully you guys can see, yes, it contrasts, but I would put the darker up here with the lighter colors. And with these darker colors, I would put my lighter gray. And that's how I would work it. Just like that. Try to do like a transition between those. Now, let's say I am wanting to get super bold. I want to do something really crazy with my colors. When I'm going to plan something like that, I'm going to lay out my yarn just like you guys are seeing here. And I'm going to set it on a table or somewhere, and I'm going to leave it there and look at it repeatedly. And while doing that, I'm going to have other colors, and I'm going to tilt my camera. I'm going to have other colors that maybe I was considering. I'm going to have those sitting out as well. So that way, as I'm looking at my potential project, I can go, I don't really like this color so much, you know, I want to switch it out for this color or that color, whatever it might be. So I'm trying to prevent the yarn avalanche. Right, so we're going to look at some other colors that I would potentially do. I always gravitate towards the blues, the blue-greens, the turquoisey colors. Those are my favorite. And I really love purples too. I could do a blanket using these colors, and I think it would turn out great. One color would be my color A, the other color would be my color B. And I do mean I'm going to use all of those colors. I'm just going to do so many rows. You know, it's going to really depend on the quantity of the yarn that I have. I am always looking at that when I'm using scraps and things. You know, I want to keep in mind that I'm going to want mine in my personal preferences to pop in this color, like for this color example right here, at the opposite end of the blanket. This is going to be my first row. At the last row, I want to see this color again. That way your eye travels from one side to the other. It's kind of like an artist technique, like a painter. You're going to splash color all around a painting so that the eye travels. You want to do the same thing in your mosaic. So I am always looking at how much do I have. Something that I have a lot of, I will do more rows of it. It doesn't hurt anything to have, you know, let's say I have less of this, so I only do 10 rows of this at the start. And then I have a lot of this, so I'm going to do 20 of that one. I have an okay amount of this one, so I'll do 7 rows of that one. And then I've got tons of this, so I might do 20 rows of that. It doesn't hurt to not have everything be exactly symmetrical, or the same number of rows, I should say, when you're doing something that's a gradient color change. It's not going to hurt the project. Kind of look at what you have on hand, and what you have more of, use that more. What you have less of, bring it in as you can. So like for me, right here, this little guy, smallest ball I have, I'm going to have to use that sparingly so that I have enough of it when I'm doing a large project like a blanket, where when this meets here in the middle, I'm going to be able to work on out the other side with it. Let's look at this set of colors. The one that spoke to me that said, hey, I love this color right here. This is the one that popped out to me, and everything that I'm going to do is going to be coming off of this color right here. This is what my inspiration is. So one color is my inspiration. I start looking, what do I have that's similar? What can I use with this? What do I like? What do I not like? So this is where your scraps come in. So I've got a scrap right here. I don't have a lot of it, but I've got enough. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to pop that in there. And then let's see. I've got some other scraps. Here's just a very little bit, but let's see where would look where would this look the best? And that's why you want to lay things out and kind of leave them out for a bit so that you can think about it. You don't always have space for that. I do understand. So that's where a really good project bag, or what I like to use is the non-disposable grocery bags, you know, the cloth ones that you can buy for $1. I use those. Line the yarn up in that and just keep looking at it before you start. So here's another color. Where could I pop this one in? Here. Let's go here with that one. So now what am I going to do for my color B? Obviously, my go-to, always the gray. Love it. Really, really pretty. I'll do my darker gray down here, my lighter gray down here, at the darker colors. That'll give me a really pretty contrast. But let's say you don't like that. You don't want to use gray. You don't want to use black. You don't want to use white. You want to use another color. So that's where I look at the yarn again. What do I have on hand? The next color that inspires me, that I like with the colors I have laid out, that's what I'm going to grab. I think on camera this is probably showing up really kind of pink. It's more of a corally color. Love it. And I love it with the blues. I just do. So this one is a darker color. It's more bold. So I would do it down here towards my lighter colors. Now, I don't have to match the same number of colors that I'm bringing in my main color of my project. Just because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors here does not mean I have to have 8 other colors. I could do this color and just grab whatever lighter color I have and bring that in at a certain spot, and then I could bring in my very lightest color down here at the other end. And all of that worked together will be a really, really stunning project. Another thing that you guys can do is, it's pink. It's not a peach color, but it works. When I put all those together, they work. It makes a really pretty gradient color. It looks ombre-ish. I can throw in another one. Or like I did with that blanket that started it all, I can grab one of these scraps. Orange can be thrown in here. It would be a bolder color choice, but it would work. It really depends on what you have, what's your budget, can you spend any money on yarn? Most of us can't right now. So we're grabbing our scraps and everything. We could take those same gorgeous peach tones and we could start doing purple with that, and that will be really gorgeous. So you can combine your blues and your peaches. We could even do these colors all together as our main colors, our color B, and bring in a gray for that second color that we need to kind of form our shapes. All of these, and I would put all of these colors that you're seeing right here into one blanket. I would have my very lightest blue down here. I would line this up so the pink starts right after that blue, and then we start fading up. So I'm gonna rearrange real quick, give you guys an idea of what that can look like. So 1 second, we'll pause real quick. So right here in this scenario, we're starting down here with that blue that started it all, and we're just fading up in our blues, just whatever ones we have, scraps or whatever. And then from my lightest blue, I'm switching over to this really soft baby pink. And then I start getting into those peach tones. So this is like a light peach or very light coral. And then I'm bringing in some more coral and just fading on up until I get to the darkest one that I have. And the difference between what I have going on down here and what I've got going on up here creates a gorgeous gradient. It really, really does. I could come in and do a secondary color. So my, these in this scenario is all, either color A or color B, just depending on which pattern you're doing. So those are all part of that one color. We're just going to use different colors as we move up and have all those different colors popping out through our project. And then we're going to come back with a secondary color, because we always need to have the contrast. So when we're popping out shapes, I would very much grab in and bring in something like this really pretty green. Now, do I want it more over here towards my blues, or do I want it more over here towards my peaches? I think it looks great on either side, but we got to look at what colors do we have available. Do we have enough of that green to bring it all the way through, or are we going to need several greens? So in this scenario, I'm going to take, got 3 different greens pulled out, and I'm going to look at those 3 greens together. They're very different. If I was lining these up, I would line them up like this. It's a jump in the ombre effect, but it can work great for this project. So wherever I have my lightest colors, the most contrast, that's where I'm going to stick the darker color. So that would be down here towards these peaches. I'd put that kind of hunter green down there. And in the center, I would start bringing in the brighter green. And at the end, where I'm getting into my darker blues, that's where I would pop in this color green as the secondary color. So keep in mind what we're talking about, the technique that we're talking about. You have a color A and a color B. Your color A and your color B can be multiple colors that you fade up. That's how that blanket that I showed, that's how that was worked. I just kept changing out the color as I went, and I saved some of each so that at each end of the blanket, I was fading back out to what I started with. So in the center of your blanket, you might have a little longer transition. Like this is going to be my center in this scenario. I'm going to have this right here. And then I could fade, I'm fading back out to these other colors, or I could have this in the center and I could start fading with the blues. So I could start working in this direction, moving my blues on up, so that I just in the center of the project have this really pretty pop of color that was kind of unexpected. So it really depends on what you're going for and the look you're going for. You can make it as bright and colorful as you want, or you can do it in much subtle tones. And I'm going to show you guys some subtle tones that I would pair together as well. All right, here are what I consider subtle tones. These are not very bright, but it gives you an idea of things that you can use together. Now, we want to look right here, this color. Hopefully it is showing. This is not gray. It's called Mushroom. It's a Stylecraft Special DK. And it's a 3-weight, but it's called Mushroom. It's a gorgeous color, and I will definitely show this in my truck talk on Tuesday out in natural light for you guys. It's a beautiful color. I love it. This was the color that made me go, ooh, what can I do with this? So it is almost a taupey, but slightly purple color. It's gorgeous. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's very different than these other colors, but it works really well together. So I paired this, and then I was like, okay, let's grab this kind of medium peach. Went to another peach. Now I'm dropping over here to my lightest color. We could change this arrangement. I could change it around and have my light color over here. Fades up to a little bit darker, and then I'm bringing in a little bit more of a peach. This alone could be a really pretty project. Or we can throw in some of those unexpected colors, and I bring in this lighter turquoisey blue and then a little bit slightly darker turquoisey blue. Now what would I do as my secondary color? So I would use all of these as, like, let's say my color A is going to fade up. Starting here at the bottom of my blanket, this would be row 1, and I'm going to move up. What's going to be that color B that we have to do every other row? Well, honestly, I would pop in a completely different color. So this is the really pretty color that inspired that first color set, and this one's called Boysenberry. I mean, and it's just gorgeous. It is so different than these colors that I have shown, but when you look at it with each set, it's gorgeous and it could work. So I would carry this color all the way through to pop out my designs. Instead of like gray, which I normally would use, that's like my go-to, use this color with these in the background, and you're going to have an absolutely stunning project. You could do it with any color. Some people may not like that, so you could do black, and that'll be really pretty as well. You could do gray, you could do white, you could do the tan like I showed before, just a simple neutral. Looks great with all those. It's less of a contrast here, but enough that it will work. Or you can be a little crazy like me and pop in this completely unexpected color. You could also throw this into the mix of what you're doing. You can pop these in I could just start with that, switch all these colors around, and have it go from that really beautiful color, pop in with these other ones that you wouldn't even think to put all together, and then we have another transition. So main points is whatever color speaks to you in that moment, the color that just grabs you, that's what you're going to build your entire project around. Grab what yarn you have there on hand and start pairing it. See what colors you like the best. Now, maybe you don't like these all together. I happen to. Grab some other colors. Grab colors you wouldn't think to put together and see, do you like it? Could that work? Grab these yarn cakes that you have around. These are just extra colors you can use. You don't have to have a lot in the blanket, as I showed you guys, and I talked about it when I was doing the little mosaic review on my porch. I did not have tons of some of the colors. I literally had small little bits and scraps like this right here, where there's not a lot of that color. That doesn't mean anything. I still popped it in and used it for the rows I could use it. So, you know, and I used it where I could, as much as I could. Might have been just one row. So any scraps that you have, you can use those to pop in more color transition and add, here's another little bit of scrap. I would totally do that together and pop that in. You could have there's a really light color blue. You can cherry pick this apart. You can separate your colors, just pull your cake apart. It'll work apart really easily. That's how I typically do them. And I'll segment them out and use them in that way. So that's an option for you. Maybe you don't want to use any of these colors like I did with the other scrap that I showed you from the burnout pop. I didn't like that one color. This one color just didn't speak to me in that ball at all. I just was like, ugh. But I could actually use it here. It's showing up a little more brown. It's kind of like a maroonish color. It's a different color, that's for sure. But I can make it work. And something like this, we could still throw in that peach down there. That'll look really pretty. Throw in some other colors. I mean, it's really, really what you have on hand, what kind of look you're going for. You can throw in colors that don't have anything to do with each other and just make it work. Do something like that. But lay it out and leave it out so you can look at it and keep looking at it. And when you're starting your mosaic, if you really just don't like you start working around, you don't like that color, you're not stuck. You don't have to use it. Pull it out. I do that all the time. Colors that I was like, oh, I'll love this, and then I don't. I just pop them out. Like I just will pull that out and go grab another color. So let's say this one, I just really didn't like it. It just wasn't speaking to me when I got it all together. Well, I'll take that out and I'll throw in another color. Do I like that? Or maybe I feel like I don't even need another color. I'll just go like that. So, you know, the more colors you have, the easier it is to do like a gradient. But we don't all have that luxury to have a ton of different colors. So that's where we're going to bring in our scraps. We're going to look for yarns like this that are going to give us several colors and can often be very, very cost effective. You know, you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors in this one little cake. And this I got on sale, so it was $2, but regularly this is $4.99. This is a smaller one. Wouldn't necessarily grab this. I got it because it was on sale. But let's say we're in Walmart and there's mandalas there, and they run, in my Walmart, they start about $4.99. So that usually has 5, 6 colors in it and long color changes. So those are great to kind of add some variants in without having to buy 5, 6 balls of yarn. So you can get it just out of one ball. Because like I said, you don't have to have a ton of any one particular color. You can just throw in what you have where you have it. So doesn't mean that you have to use all these colors. Maybe I wouldn't use that yellow. Maybe I would pull out that yellow. Maybe I would pull out the orange. Use it down at the other end. I don't have to use it where it's coming out of the ball. So that's how I do my color changes and my planning for things. Is basically whatever color speaks to me, I'm going to grab that color and work around that, throwing in as many colors as I want to. And 2, I'm going to go for scraps to add in those little pops of color that I'm missing, or to kind of help me with that transition. And number 3, and the biggest point of all, is have fun with it. Lay those colors out, look at them for a while, then start your project. If you don't like something, you're not stuck with any one particular color. You can always change your mind. And number 4, whenever possible, get yarn cakes. They're going to give you that nice ombre effect that you can pull out and use in different ways in your project. Hopefully this is kind of giving you an idea of how to go about grabbing some colors up and starting a project. Remember, no matter what, it is almost impossible to make an ugly mosaic. The design, the way that it just pops, really, really, really is so eye-catching that I have yet to see one that I didn't like the colors. I'm not a big fan of brown, and I've seen them worked up in tones of brown, and just my jaw dropped. So you don't have to have a ton of colors. You could really just do a few colors and make that work if that's what you have. Obviously, you're not going to make a whole blanket out of just this little bit, but use what you have. Do what you can do without going out and spending a bunch of money. If you do have the luxury of spending money, you know, obviously go wild with it. Get all the colors that you dream of when you're going to do a project, but most of us can't. So we're going to work with our scraps, and we're going to work with yarns that give us lots of colors in them, because that's going to be the cheapest thing for us. We're getting these blues and greens and yellows all in one ball, and then some purples, more blues. So these can be really, really helpful when you're doing a project. Now, I do suggest, if you are going to use something like the Red Heart Super Saver stripes, get a couple of them and join together so that you have longer color transitions. So that's going to be for those of you that have a ball winder. You're going to want to start winding this up and have a second one there where you can pull out your green and join those together and wind those into like a segment so that you can pop that color in where you need to. And do that with all those colors, because these color transitions are not that long. They work great for something like the width of a scarf, but if you're doing a blanket, you're going to have several colors pop out all on one row. If that's not the look you're going for, you're going to want to join together a few balls of these and segment out your colors, or just not use it at all. Mandalas have a lot longer of a color, change, so those might be the way to go. And these Just My Stripes seem to have a pretty long color change as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like me to do a different series on these colors, if this wasn't what you were thinking of and what you're needing, then let me know down in the comments, and I'll be happy to do more videos on this and ways to grab and pick colors, or show you guys these colors out in maybe the sunlight where you can see why I'm grabbing all these crazy colors together. So thank you guys as always for watching. Bye for now.